biggest sports stories are just getting started. From Hawkeyes and Cyclones to the NFL, MLB, NBA, and beyond. This is The Lunch Rush, presented by Circa Sports. Now, here's Trent Condon.
Good late morning and welcome aboard. It is The Lunch Rush with Trent Condon here on 102.1 ESPN Des Moines, along with the Rush Radio Network, streaming everywhere. You can find us on the TuneIn app there as well. And you can watch us on YouTube. Cleanly shaven after seeing all that gray in the beard yesterday. If you're watching along with us on YouTube, glad to have you aboard with us as we take you up until 1 o'clock. Myself and my radio producer, Drew Reinhardt, with you today as we have a Football Friday. Yes, well, kind of. But we didn't have football last night, so we're going to call this a Football Friday, though not an official one as we get closer and closer to the real football season. It was great to hear the pads popping last night. Great to hear Mike Tirico, Chris Collinsworth on the call, and to see what turned out to be a very compelling game. Now, I'm not going to lie and tell you that I was there start to finish, but I was there at the start. I was there at the finish. What happened in between? All right, that's anybody's guess what was happening there. But an entertaining game. It comes down to the wire, and a victory for the Panthers, sadly for me, as I was on the Cardinals on the money line on that one last night. Coming up on the show today on the guest list, we'll kick things off here in about 20 minutes as we will go to Vegas. Well, I'm going to Vegas on Sunday night, but we go to Vegas to talk with Mike Palm from Circa Sports. He will join us, as he will most every Friday throughout the course of the year. Mike Palm will jump in. We'll talk a lot of different things. What's happening in the wagering world? What's going on with the football contests out there? And the numbers continue to rise. Bet Bash is wrapping up this weekend out at Circa. If you're new to it, we'll talk a little bit about that as well with Mike Palm. Heard a couple of interviews out there. Heard Chris the Bear Felica in his podcast with his crew. They were live from Circa earlier this week and a few others. Mike Palm coming up here at 11:20. That and at 11:40, we'll be joined by Eugene Rapay. Time to talk some Cyclones with Eugene. We'll break down what we've heard this week from Jimmy Rogers, some of the players and coaches that have been available, as the media availability is definitely opened up in a big practice tomorrow, because it's more of a scrimmage, but more importantly for us and our services is because some of the media members are going to get a chance to go in and actually watch practice. So that'll be a big one there. We'll talk to Eugene coming up here at 11:40. 12 o'clock hour, we will go at 12:15 with Tom Kakert from HawkeyeReport.com. We'll get the latest on the Hawkeyes from Tom. We are a week away from Iowa Football Media Day. I'll be over in Iowa City for that. Looking forward to that. Kirk Ferentz scheduled to go at, I believe, 1:45 is when his press conference will be, and then all the players and the assistant coach interviews after that. And I'll have full coverage for you coming up Friday on that front. Then at 12:40, we'll wrap things up on the guest list with Mitch Holtis as he joins us every day throughout the month of August. Our daily training camp reports brought to you by Papa John's of Iowa and locally here as well by Graphite Construction Group. The voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holtis, at 12:40. And then we'll wrap things up at 12:50 with our picks of the day presented by Circa Sports. Again, Circa Sports, the 250th anniversary of our country, and a chance for $250 for you. That's right. Just deposit $250 right now on your Circa Sports Iowa app. After you play through that $250, Circa is going to bonus you another $250 in your account. It's not free bets, anything like that. It's just $250 back into your account. You don't have to lose that money. You can win, and then you get another $250 on top of it. A great deal going on. Download the Circa Sports Iowa app right now. Deposit $250, your chance at another $250 after you play through your initial deposit. Well, let's get into it, and want to open up the show today with a look at last night. So I don't know if I mentioned yesterday, but right after the show, Drew knows I had to scoot out of here very quickly, taking my kids back home, back up to Osage, where I grew up in North Iowa. So ran home, grabbed the kids, got in the car, went up there, had a bunch of meetings and phone calls on the drive. It went quickly before I got out there. Got to hang out with my grandma, which was great. She's approaching 90. And still loves her sports. It mentions my grandpa's, but my grandma, a huge sports fan as well on my mom's side of the family. Got to see my sister and her kids and my nephew Vinny and my niece Violet. And Violet is a big fan of Uncle Trent. So I got to put her in the car seat a couple of times. And she's that guy. She likes that guy. So Uncle Trent, definitely a high one. In fact, speaking of that, I got a picture the other day as they were back at my parents' place and they were watching the broadcast on YouTube. Just search The Rush and it'll pop up there and you can watch all three of our local shows. But there's a picture of both of them real close to the TV, smiles on their faces. Well, I got the rest of the story after that as they were watching on TV. they said very quickly, all right, that's enough, Uncle Trent. They didn't like when any other people were talking, anything like that, Drew. So it was cute. It was very good. And then you get the rest of it. Yeah, if Uncle Trent's not talking, they don't want to hear it. So I'm sorry, Drew. Yeah, I guess you don't got a couple of fans. You do not have the 4 and 2-year-old demographic that are in my family covered.
Well, I mean, not much I can do there, but it's all right. I understand. I got my mom watching, so shout out my mom.
Yes, absolutely. Shout out to your mom. Shout out to my mom. Shout out to all the moms out there. But as I start the conversation and get back to where I was actually going, and that is the game last night. So as we're getting ready to leave, we got to go to the drive-in, an old school drive-in. There's still one in Osage where you drive your car in, you order your food, they bring it out to you. There's a car hop. It's awesome. Stan's Drive-In in Osage. If you're ever in North Iowa and you ever find yourself in Osage, make sure to stop at Stan's. Now, it's only available like in the spring and summer. By the time fall comes around, they got to close that thing up. But anyway, I'm going to pick things up. We have drive-in food. It was great. Some memories there and getting ready to depart. My mom's taking the kids back to her place along with my sister, and Grandma's there. And Grandma couldn't figure out how to watch the Fever game last night. As I mentioned, Grandma, a huge sports fan. She was looking on ESPN. I looked. It's on Prime. All right. So I'm going to guess that Grandma probably doesn't have Prime. Sure enough, Grandma's got Prime. All right. So open it up for her. And then I was able to watch the first quarter of the game with Grandma before I got on the road and headed back to Des Moines. And just conversing with her, talking with her. She always sends me questions. She's got sports questions that pop up from time to time. She is a huge sports fan. And it's crazy. My mom wanted to hustle home so she could at least catch the second half of it. And how many people are still so invested in Caitlin Clark and this Fever team and what they are. And I see this happen all over the place. And you look around and you go out and you grab a bite to eat and you see people and just still how engaged they are into the Caitlin Clark effect and what it is. And yet, as we've watched throughout the course of the season, it hasn't been very good. And again, last night, the struggles that they had, the issues that came up, and of course, what happened in the late game. One thing that has always stood out to me, and when we go back and why so many people loved watching Caitlin Clark, yes, the logo threes are a huge part of that, but it was also the passion, the joy that she played with, and having just a different kind of demeanor than we were used to, certainly in women's athletics. It was different. And I remember seeing Caitlin for the first time her freshman year at Dowling and calling one of her games like, I'd heard about her. Like, oh yeah, you could tell she was different. She's wired differently. And now you watch her today, and it's still there from time to time, but it's not the overwhelming joy. And Drew, that's the part of it that to me is just sad. Yeah. It's sad to see what this league has done to her and the way that she plays.
Yeah, for sure. It's tough when you're getting kind of bullied around the whole time, and you lose the joy of the game when it feels like the world's against you at this point. And I mean, I feel like she's been doing everything she possibly can to stay under wraps and just play basketball, and it's just still not going in her way. And I don't know what you do at this point with WNBA.
Yeah, it is a difficult circumstance. You got a lame duck commissioner now who feels like if she does have power, she doesn't want to use it. If she does has power, she's not using it correctly. With Engelbert, it's a mess over there. It definitely is. Yet people are still watching. People are still engaged. There's going to be a huge game coming up, I think, tomorrow. But back to Caitlin, and then down the stretch. And this is the part that's just absolutely confounding to me is you see Caitlin Clark yesterday, late game situations. Think of the closer that she was. Think of those big moments. And I went down to Dallas for the first Final Four, took my daughter down there, and watching that event, watching her late against South Carolina, the way that she's been able to close. The three-pointer that happened to win the regular season crown back earlier that season against Indiana, the walk-off at Carver Hawkeye Arena, what she was down the stretch. And down the stretch here, she was terrible. There's no doubt about it. She was awful last night down the stretch, from turnovers, dribbling into trouble, not having the athleticism, or because of injury, the lack of athleticism that is there to be able to turn the corner against a bigger defender. And then maybe the most crazy thing, with a chance to salt the game away, to miss 2 free throws. It's unthinkable that this happens with Caitlin Clark. The Caitlin Clark that we all knew. The Caitlin Clark that I think we know is still in there. But it's not there. 8 turnovers. She has struggled mightily in her career against the Aces. And you couple it with, you had a 20-point lead in this game. I mean, there is absolutely no way that you should be losing this game. And yet they did. And now, at this point in time, if the playoffs began today, they don't. But if they began today, they'd be starting on the road. They'd be starting on the road in a team that has been just wildly inconsistent throughout the course of the year. I want to see that joy back. I want to see that passion back. I want to get that and get back for the Crew that was always about shut up and dribble. Let's just let her shut up and dribble. Let's just have that part, because personally, I don't care what she has to say about any topic. It could be something that matters in the WNBA or social circles or those kind of things. I don't care. I want to watch her play basketball. That's why I enjoy Caitlin Clark. It has nothing to do with anything else. It is because we got this local kid, a kid that went to the University of Iowa, could have gone a lot of different places, decided to stay home, took Iowa to places they had never been before, and took the Hawkeyes there. I want to see that player back. I want to see her be able to do that. Let's jump into a little bit of baseball from last night. My Twins got a much-needed win against the Royals. Little nip and tuck there. We got a victory, though, in that one, as the Twins and Royals went under last night, the 9 total, so we got a win in one of our picks from yesterday. But I want to go to the afternoon. And the Cubs are in action. The makeup game against the Blue Jays. Another absolutely wild game. It felt like they had no shot. With the way that Dylan Cease was dealing, they're not going to be able to get the bat on the ball. He was incredible in the game. Finishes with 10 strikeouts, just 2. But in the end, got it done against Louis Varland, the comeback fashion. And then the Cubs walk it off to continue the winning streak.
Lefty to lefty, Bush trying to come through. Pete's running. The pitch low, throw to third base. It's a wild throw. Pete's going to score. Cubs win the ball game. Cubs win. Pete Crow Armstrong stealing third. The ball bounced off the glove of Smith. It rolled out into left field. Pete Crow Armstrong scores the winning run. What a ball game.
That it was. What a ball game, as the Cubs walk it off on a throw and get it done in a game that for a long time it felt like they were going to have absolutely no chance and no opportunity. They do that. The winning streak continues now for the Cubs, as they have jumped up and continue to jump up in the National League. Now the top wildcard team, as they are well clear of the Phillies for that top spot. That means home field advantage in the opening round. And maybe, possibly, could they run down the Brewers? It's 5.5 now, and the Brewers aren't slowing down. They've won 3 in a row themselves, but a great one there. Cubs now back in action coming up this weekend, as they will face off against the Royals this evening, 7:10 with the first pitch there. We'll get our first look at Kevin Gossman in that one. Then on Saturday, 6:10 for that one, it'll be Holmes getting the ball for the Cubs. And then on Sunday, it'll be Matthew Boyd, 7-1 on the season, 3.59 ERA against the resurgent Randy Dobnak. Saw him earlier in the week against my Twins, and a former Twin that looked good. I don't think that's sustainable for Randy Dobnak, but that's coming up on Sunday for the Cubs. All the games you can hear right here on ESPN Des Moines, 102.1 on the FM dial, 1350 AM on the Chicago Cubs radio network, and that call comes from the Cubs radio network with Pat Hughes and with Ron Coomer. Now, Drew, I got something for you. I know you've listened, obviously, here to a lot of Cubs games.
Yep.
I have got this many times before. I have a distinct voice, I guess you could say. Some people might say an awful voice, and certainly for radio, I've heard that plenty of times before. I've been told, knock it off, you got no shot, this is not going to work for you. But that aside, here I am.
Yep.
Anyway, 22 years later, they can stick it where the sun don't shine. That aside. So I have heard from multiple people, and I don't hear it at all. I absolutely don't, that my voice sounds very similar to Ron Coomer. Do you hear it? Listen the next time that the Cubs broadcast is on. Coom Dog, who was an all-star for my Minnesota Twins, which is the biggest joke of an all-star bid, maybe of all time, Ron Coomer all-star. But that aside, do you hear it? Can you think of it? Because other people I've said before that are Cubs fans that listen to the broadcast a lot here on ESPN Des Moines, they're like, no, not at all. Can you hear it?
It's maybe way deep down in there, but
yeah, I don't at all. I'm baffled by it.
Yeah.
I was out broadcasting a high school baseball game a few years back, and I got a text from somebody that said, I was listening, just flipped on the broadcast, and I thought it was Ron Coomer talking. One of my buddies, Ben Steele, he's told me the same thing. There's a couple other people. I'm like, I don't hear it at all. I think they're crazy. All right. Let's move on from that. One other baseball note from yesterday. I know that there's been studies that have been done about baseball, about the participants in the home run derby. And this big slide that happens after you participate, it screws up your swing, whatever it is, you use too much energy, whatever the reasoning is behind it. Now, there's been studies done that say that that's not the case. It actually doesn't happen. However, the two guys that we saw in the finals of the home run derby, Jordan Walker, who won it,
Yep.
and Kyle Schwarber, have combined since the All-Star break for one home run.
Wow.
One home run for both of those guys. So maybe there is something to it. I know overall that is not the case, but that is something that definitely jumped out. One other thing, and that is the Hall of Fame game from yesterday. Fun game. Again, just watch the end and the beginning, but that was it. We had some baseball in between. White Sox, Red Sox, what a game that was last night. That was absolutely incredible. But the Hall of Fame inductees, what a group this was. Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald, Luke Kuechly, Roger Craig, and Adam Vinatieri. But I want to go to Roger Craig because this is one, and I remember when this class was announced that I was just absolutely shocked that Roger Craig, a Iowa native, by the way, though he made an awful, awful choice. He went to Nebraska. Yeah. But Roger Craig, now this is before your time a little bit, but Roger Craig was not a Hall of Famer because in my mind, Roger Craig was an absolute star. And again, we're talking about, this is a time where I'm coming into becoming a sports fan. We're talking about in the 80s and into the early 90s, but still a guy that ran for 8,000 yards, 56 touchdowns. But the other part was his receiving ability. He had a year where he went over 1,000 yards receiving in his third year in the league, along with 6 touchdowns back in 1985. He had another season where he had, 81 catches on the season. Just because of is probably my formative years. I also was chasing a Roger Craig rookie card. That 1983 Topps cards, they weren't very plentiful back in the day. So that was maybe another reason for it because, again, I'm a little kid and I say, well, this guy was born in Iowa. I got to get this one. I have to have an Iowa that makes that happen. But Roger Craig, a Hall of Famer, joining that class. And finally, Adam Vinatieri, which you look at the career, the longevity is the one that just, I forgot how long it was until you go through and you kind of look through the stats once again. The 28 game-winning field goals that he had in his career. Talk about clutch, a guy that was, for a while, a middling kicker at South Dakota State. Did not have a great career early on there. Looked like maybe he was going to be cut early in his career with the Patriots and what it became and what he turned into. Clutch, tough environment, an absolute stud. And Adam Vinatieri joins that class. Drew Brees, no doubt. Larry Fitzgerald, that's easy. Luke Kuechly even, I thought was pretty easy. And that will be coming up tomorrow is when the Hall of Fame inductions will be happening. We're going to take a quick time out here, come back on the other side, and we're going to go to Las Vegas. Mike Palm, the Vice President of Operations at Circa Sports. The latest on Bet Bash, the latest on what's happening with the football contest, and what we got cooked up for you next week out at Circa Sports. We'll take a quick time out here, come back on the other side, and go to Las Vegas. This is The Lunch Rush with Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports.
The world's largest sports book in Las Vegas is available right at your fingertips in Iowa. Trent Condon here for Circa Sports. The Circa Sports Iowa app is sports betting the way it should be. Bet anywhere in Iowa and experience high betting limits, tight money line splits, and exceptional customer service. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com and start betting like a pro from anywhere in Iowa. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
We are ready. We've waited for this one for a long time. The anticipation, the excitement, the intensity. The teams are on the field looking to build on last week's success.
Construction doesn't need a play-by-play call, but it does need a team. Like the team at Graphite Construction Group. From concept to planning to building completion, our team is with you every step of the way.
And the beam is up.
Mitch, this isn't a field goal.
You mean like it's a touchdown? Graphite Construction Group.
Graphite Construction Group. We build it better.
So, Russ, what do you do in the off-season?
Mitch, we don't have an off-season.
Family owned since 1970, Kemker's True Value and Rental helps you buy what you want and rent what you need. Get to work on that to-do list with help from Kemker's True Value and Rental. Kemker's has all your hardware needs, grills for that family barbecue, and a one-stop shop for all your lawn and garden needs. Plus, their rental catalog is perfect for do-it-yourselfers. Make it Kemker's True Value and Rental. Find out what they can do for you at KemkersTrueValue.com. That's KemkersTrueValue.com.
Hello, my name is Dr. Kelsey Edwards with Fuller Associates Family Dentistry. I'd like to invite you to join our practice. If you're looking for a new dentist or accepting new patients, I'd love to create the smile you deserve in a judgment-free zone. We have 2 convenient locations to choose from in Des Moines and Altoona and offer extended evening hours. As a third-generation dentist, I've had the pleasure of following in my grandfather's footsteps and now working alongside Dr. Stephen Fuller. You can find Fuller Associates Family Dentistry on Facebook or Instagram or by calling us at 515-266-3437.
Before, during, or after the game, your football headquarters for this year is Bevy's in West Des Moines. Bevy's after a football Friday night, Bevy's for college Saturday, and Bevy's for all the pro football action. A great brunch menu to get you ready for your football watching on the weekend. And it doesn't matter your team, you know you'll be covered at Bevy's because they love football just like you. Bevy's Tavern, 1350th Street in West Des Moines. Bevy's is your football headquarters. Joined by Dr. Heidi Bell with Elite Eye Care. It's football season. Concussions always a big topic.
This year, 2 to 3 million sports-related concussions will occur, and about half of those go unreported. 2 out of every 10 high school students will suffer a concussion. The most important part is following through with your doctor, but the recommendations are different than they used to be. At Elite Eye Care, we can diagnose and treat the post-concussion visual symptoms that typically exist.
That's Dr. Heidi Bell with Elite Eye Care, with locations in Hawkeyes, 2 in Ankeny, and the newest location in Norwalk for Elite Eye Care.
We want you at Sonorama. We make all the signs, you just make the commas. Stress-free life out in the Bahamas. If you need a life without any drama, it's just Sonorama. Over 700 locations. We got owners spanning all across the nations. Imagine what we do with the next generation. Everything here, just a big celebration. 1986 when we started it all. Looking at us now, I wouldn't change it at all. We don't want to make this too complex. Hit us in the contacts, let's set up a contract. We want you at Sonorama.
Sinorama of Urbandale, 10301 Dennis Drive in Urbandale. Online, sinorama.com/IA-Urbandale. I think you all know by now that the Chicken Coop is one of my favorite places to go for a cold one and great food. And their new made-from-scratch menu has me going back even more. Their signature wings with 12 different sauces. The Nashville Hot Chicken Sandwich. And you gotta try the new Big B Chopped Cheese. And the Chicken Coop has 3 locations. Urbandale, West Des Moines, and Ankeny. Wherever you are in the metro, the Chicken Coop has you covered.
The headlines keep coming, and the conversation keeps rolling. Back to the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon.
Welcome back once again. Here it is, the Lunch Rush presented by Circa Sports as we take you up until 1 o'clock here this afternoon. Glad to have you aboard with us as we talk the world of sports. Well, a big trip coming up for me. Excited to get out to Vegas once again. It has been way too long as we get ready for the start of football season. And joining us right now from Circa Sports, he is the Vice President of Operations. He is Mike Palm. Mike, a busy week, I know, for you guys out there. Bet Bash going on. It'll conclude coming up on Saturday. Tomorrow things will wrap up. A busy week. How you been?
Well, Trent, good to talk to you. Yeah, it's been very, very, very busy. Bet Bash 6, over 800 participants. I had my own seminar yesterday, and basically it was a Q&A for folks to ask questions about the other side of the casino life, what it's like operating a casino. And, there were some really great questions about, the relationship between a bettor and a casino. It was great questions about when President Trump visited here. And it was about 45 minutes. I've attended some of the other panels. I just stepped out of a panel on the ethics of touting. Coming up here in about 45 minutes, they're going to have a panel on legality of prediction markets. So awesome stuff. And then, of course, tonight we have our Hall of Fame induction banquet, which I'll be emceeing here in the Galaxy Ballroom.
That is awesome and a great event, one that our timing has not worked out. The last 2 years we had Big 12 and then Big 10 football media day, so we were out there for that. Timing didn't work out. We got our little event that we're doing coming up this week as well. Hopefully, fingers crossed, maybe next year that the schedule is going to work out and I can also be out there for Bet Bash. Would love to make that happen because I've heard nothing but great things that of people that have been involved. I was listening a little bit to the Bear, Chris Felica, and his podcast on my drive home from Osage last night, and him talking about just the event, what you guys did, and they talked a lot of college football on top of it, which you obviously know that I love. Well, I've also seen something else that's come out of Bet Bash, Mike, and that is the number of people that have signed up there at Circa Sports for the football contest, and you guys are trending for both Circa Millions and Circa Survivor, numbers that are unseen, unheard of, and I'm going to guess when you guys made this decision, even in your wildest dreams, did you ever think you were going to get to something where you're going to be approaching 25, maybe $30 million prize pool for Circa Survivor?
Yeah, Trent, the pacing is incredible. I mean, early on, and I talked to you guys and you and Ken about we're 70% above on Circa Survivor, and then that number over the course of 3 weeks or so got to 50, and then a little below 50. We're back up close to 70% pacing again, and it's hard to maintain that the last 2 weeks just because of capacity. But I'm with you right now. I think that we're gonna go through 25 million. And approach maybe 27 million. When I was asked, before we started taking signups, I said 22.5 million was my over/under. I mean, that's going to be way low. I think we're going to hit the 6 million on Circa Millions for the first time. We're trending about 25% up there. If that held up, we'd be over 7 million. And then the amount of Grandissimo. We went from 6 Grandissimo on Monday to today we're at 24, and of course Bet Bash was a big part of that.
That is awesome to hear. And you're going to have a couple more entries that are going to be signing up here in a couple of days when I get out there. And I'll take my shot and then probably take my medicine very quickly, as we have laughed about throughout the years. But, people think about it also. And, we got a lot of new people here now listening with our new radio home and along with our video streaming network with the Rush Radio Network. And people look at, $1,000. Boy, that maybe feels like a lot. I don't bet a whole lot. Well, if you break it down over the course of what is a 20-week schedule, if you will, for Circa Survivor, it's $50 a week. For the 18-week contest for Circa Millions, now that's short of $60 a week. I am not a big player by any means, Mike, but I know I'm definitely betting more than that every single week. When you kind of look at it in those terms, I think it relieves a little bit of the concerns of what it is. And then you get that lottery ticket, and you just never know, as we see happening right now with the great video work that you guys have and the streaming series that is happening, going back and looking at Circa Survivor from a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If you made 3 bets a weekend, right? That's $22 a bet. You're spending 66. This is the same investment over the course of a year. Now, I would tell you, the Survivor is a chance to become a millionaire, but you might be out week one. Mm-hmm. The Millions, you're going to have action all the way through. Even if you did terribly, you'd still have action into what it was our fourth quarter, right? So you're still getting 4 months of action. So it's really an investment over a period of 4 to 5 months that you're making for $1,000.
The other component of that, you mentioned the quarterly part of it too, and there's so many people that also they team up. You get a couple of buddies together. All right, we're going to get 5 guys. Everybody throws in $200, and you go that direction and kind of work together and see if you can come up with what you're going to do. Now, it might lead to some disagreements, as I found out in the past with some different groups. I know Ken, he's got his big group of guys that they always do it together. You got that one. But I do want to also mention this for our new listeners that are out there that haven't heard us talk about this before, Mike, and that is, yes, this is a contest that is in Las Vegas. That means you do have to be physically in Las Vegas to sign up for the contest. And also, unless you're coming back every week to make your picks, you have to have a proxy. If you can explain that proxy service a little bit, you guys have a bunch of them that are always there around Circa, but what exactly that entails, getting a proxy, the person that'll put in your picks for you every single week.
Yeah, you're right. So register in Nevada, play from anywhere. And the reason we're able to have thousands of entries in this contest is because of the proxies. They provide a service where you'll come out and register for the contest, and then you will name them as your proxy, and they will put your picks in for you each week from Nevada. And even people that live here in Las Vegas will hire a proxy because, there might be some of those 17 weeks that they're out of town and unable to put the pick in. Or it's also just good to have somebody texting you on Friday night or Saturday morning, hey, we need to get your picks in. The services range in price. They're very legitimate. They become very high tech. Most of it is done on an app. And so the rates vary depending on which contest you're in, how many entries you have, but generally it costs you between $200 and $300 to hire a proxy to put your picks in for the season.
And the one that I use throughout the years is footballcontest.com. Maddie and Tony over there, and also another native Iowan. We're talking with Mike Palm. He's from Dubuque, and Tony, she's from Ankeny. So we get that Iowa connection, which is always a good thing, Mike. But as you said, there's a lot of different ones out there. The one I use, though, footballcontest.com, if you're interested in finding out a little bit of information with there. But not endorsing anyone. You guys don't endorse anyone, but a lot of opportunities that are there on the proxy service. Mike, wanted to jump into a couple of different things on the actual sports wagering part. And watching last night, the end of the Fever game as they let one slip away, up 20 points, the disappointing end to the game, and the end of overtime for Caitlin Clark, the missed free throws, the turnovers. She doesn't look right. But that aside, what about betting handle? Yeah, I mentioned earlier in the show that my grandma, she still watches every single game. My parents, they still watch every single game. We still see it, obviously, here in the state of Iowa where people are still following. What about betting handle? What has that done with the WNBA and this discourse over the last 3 years?
And it's the fastest growing single segment sports we have over the last 3 years. It used to be MMA, UFC. Now it's the WNBA, and people talk about, next summer, what's going to happen if we don't have baseball or we don't have baseball for a few months or we're going to rely on the Women's World Cup. Well, there'll be some interest in the Women's World Cup, but the interest in the WNBA is phenomenal. And I just went back to our top 5 bettors in terms of volume over the course of the year, all bet WNBA. And 3 of them bet WNBA max bets the way they do football and other sports. So it's pretty amazing. The handle, we can generate several $100,000 in handle on these larger WNBA games. Aces, Fever last night, Fever, Lynx last Sunday, Aces, Lynx coming up Saturday, Aces, Liberty coming up Sunday. What a schedule for the Aces, by the way, on this road trip. But it's really amazing. And here's another testament. Before Caitlin entered the WNBA, we had 1 guy that wanted to book it in our risk room. Now we have 6.
Wow. Everybody wants to get it. Well, it's interesting. It's entertaining. And yes, absolutely. A lot of people trying to help out on the bookmaking side of things. Over to baseball with you, Mike Palm. And that is, we see the Cubs starting to heat up once again as they get it done in crazy fashion yesterday. The sweep of the Dodgers before that. They get the Royals coming up this weekend. This Cubs team getting healthier. They augmented the rotation with Gausman and a couple other arms that come in. We'll get to see Gausman go coming up this weekend. We know the Dodgers are behemoth, and by the time October comes around, they're probably going to look different than they do here in early August. Still, that aside, when you look at this Cubs team, timely hitting, PCA just putting this team on his back at times, your thoughts of how good and how far can this Cubs team actually go?
It's interesting. They're playing great right now. I thought they were the biggest winners at the trade deadline, even more so than the Dodgers, and I get it with Skubal. And they blocked Milwaukee from getting Skubal, which is probably a big deal. And they'll have a chance to sign him, right, where the Tigers wouldn't and probably Milwaukee wouldn't after this season. But if you go back to like David Cohn and that first blockbuster trade deadline rental, there's been 8 former Cy Youngs whose contracts were ending, and let's make that point, whose contracts were ending at the end of that season that have been traded at the trade deadline since Cohn. Only 1 team has won a World Series doing that. And I get it, the Dodgers are the 2-time defending champs. I thought the Cubs were going to target at least 2 starting pitchers and probably 2 relievers. I don't think they gave up a heck of a lot to get it. How were they able to get rid of Tyone is another amazing situation for them. But I ranked them as the best trade deadline. We had them at 24-1 to win the World Series. They're 16-1 right now. Obviously, the winning streak has something to do with it. But there's rotation, and who you're going to get back, too, right? I mean, I thought Ben Brown was having the best season of any of them. And so, I think they will present a better challenge. It's still an uphill battle. You're going to have to win a wild card series, maybe Philadelphia, and then you're going to have to beat the Dodgers and Brewers in some order, it looks like. And maybe now it's the Dodgers if the Brewers get the top seed, or the Dodgers first. But whether or not, it's still a tough path in the National League. But you love the way you're playing, you love the excitement, and you love how shrewd Jed Hoyer was at the trade deadline.
Mike, in the American League, the Red Sox do it again last night. Great game against the White Sox. That was one of the more entertaining games that I've seen all season long. Really enjoyed watching that one without I had a White Sox ticket at plus 170, so I was, of course, rooting for the White Sox to get it done. But that aside, I looked yesterday. I think it was 6-1 for the Red Sox to win the pennant. Today at Circa Sports, it's 5-1. And yet I'm still a little bit baffled because I don't like this Yankees team. Aaron Judge says he's going to come back. We'll see on that front. The Rays, it's still hard to envision that squad putting together even 2 playoff series to get to a World Series. The Red Sox at 5-1, should those numbers be a little bit tighter with them and the Yankees and the Rays to win the AL pennant?
Look, I just bet them last night at 15-1, and this run of 26-3 is incredible. They may come back after winning at 80-1, the most wins in July, and come back and do it in August. They're just playing with such confidence right now. Now they get the A's. I mean, you got to bet them every day, probably on the run line. I don't have any American League futures beyond divisions, so I said, I don't want to miss this train if they keep this momentum going and get to a World Series. Heck, at 15-1, even if you get to American League Championship Series, you can monetize that ticket. I do have Tampa Bay at 4-1 to win that division, the White Sox at 25-1 to win the Central, and then both those two teams to make the playoffs. So I have plenty of futures. I just didn't have one beyond division. So I said, well, why not take a little shot with the Red Sox here?
We know the American League stinks overall. And I'm looking, well, of course, my Twins still hanging around, just a half game back of the final wild card. I've made a lot of dumb bets. As you know, Mike, throughout the years, there's been ones that, what in God's name was he thinking? I took a shot earlier in the week on the Blue Jays. I think they were plus 950 at the time to make the playoffs. Now they're up to plus 1150. The Blue Jays, they've had injuries. It's been a disappointing year, but because of how open it is, they're only 3.5 games back. Of course, they have to leapfrog a lot of teams to get there. Is that something that at least you could wrap your mind around and maybe worth a pizza bet, right? Throwing out a couple bucks and just seeing if that makes sense in the Blue Jays finally catching fire after a disappointing season.
Yeah, I have them not to make the playoffs at plus 225 from before the year because I thought the manner that they lost the World Series would be too devastating for them to overcome. They had the Dodgers beat, Trent, and I just thought mentally to recover, they let the whole country down. They are truly a national team, right? They're the only team in Canada. The whole country follows them. Hockey is split allegiances 6 different ways. So, I wouldn't have made that bet. I'm right now, the other bet that I'm looking at, it's not as long, but the Tigers are who scares me the most of my White Sox ticket in the Central. The Guardians have just been spinning their wheels, and I'm sorry, your Twins, they got 5 guys playing out of position every night. And look, Joe Ryan's hurt. They got to see a specialist. Bailey Ober tops out at 88 miles an hour, and Derek Shelton says he's a great executor of pitches. I mean, I refuse to believe the Twins can do it. I just don't think they're good enough. And by the way, I don't know what they do to train their pitchers, but they're all awful in the first inning. They just bet the Twins opponents to score in the first at more than 2-1 every game, and you'll be way ahead if you do that. So I don't hate your bet because it's nice to have a few flyers to have interest in, but Toronto wouldn't be the place I went.
Kalen Culpepper, the number 2 prospect for the Twins, he has actually been called up, and he will be up there with the Twins this weekend as they take on the rival, the Brewers, in what should be a fun series this weekend. Final thing for you, Mike, and we'll let you get back to Bet Bash, and that is the World Series of Poker. Watched it 2 nights ago as it came to a conclusion. Lucas Jumalan, a 22-year-old, wins it. There were tears. There was celebration. The World Series of Poker, it became such a boom, 15, maybe 20 years ago when it really started to build. What does the World Series Poker now mean for you guys and mean in Las Vegas when it comes around?
Well, it certainly brings a bunch of people to town, and we feel some of the effect with our sports betting, with Circa Sports, and it helps with signups for the contest. This is not official yet, but we're going to sign the contract next week. The Circa will host the World Poker Tour, a festival of poker in both May of 2027 and May of 2028, which will be a 2-tournament series, one with a $3,500 buy-in, one with a $5,500 buy-in tournament. So we're, reluctantly, I sort of drug Derek into the poker space, but we're going to get involved with it as well, not just the charity tournaments we host from time to time here.
Mike Palm, the Vice President of Operations at Circa Sports, the 3 properties out there. Mike, I will see you. I'm going to guess you're not going to stay up when we get to town late Sunday night, but plan to see you hopefully Monday, Tuesday over there at Circa, and excited to get started once again. Good to talk to you, Mike.
Safe travels, Trent. I'll see you Monday.
All right, that sounds great. Mike Palm, the Vice President of Operations. And again, we will be there live at Circa, downtown Las Vegas, at the world's largest sports book. Myself, along with Lucas Strain and Sean Roberts with Beyond the Bench on the Rush Radio Network, will be doing our shows live. You can hear also my show live here on ESPN Des Moines. 11-1 for me, 4-6 for the boys. We will be in Vegas. We will be at Stadium Swim, if you've never seen that before. And here's one other fun thing. I just got word late last night that they're going to give us Tuesday afternoon. They're going to give us a craps table that is for us. that we're going to play. Real money. We're going to be able to play, though, our own VIP craps table. We're going to have some video of it. They're going to allow us to videotape it so you can watch myself, Lucas. He's a big craps player as well. We'll see if we can get Sean involved. We'll see my wife, maybe if she wants to play a little bit, but we're going to have our own one. So make sure that you check out, subscribe right now on YouTube to the Rush Radio Network. That's where we'll go live on that one while we're playing live in Las Vegas. It should be a great, great time. And all of our shows also there coming up Monday, Tuesday. And then Drew will take our number 2 of the ship coming up on Wednesday as we make our way back from Las Vegas. A big thank you to Mike Palm and for Circa Sports. Should be a great time out there, and we'll show you from here all the different places, a lot of social media. Follow along with us as well. Quick timeout back on the other side. We're talking Iowa State Cyclones. Cyclone footballs with Eugene Rapay from the Des Moines Register. That's next. This is the Lunch Rush on 102.1 ESPN Des Moines and the Rush Radio Network.
Get in on the action with the world's largest sports book right at your fingertips. Circa Sports Iowa is where the pros play. Enjoy the highest limits, lowest takeouts, and competitive betting menus. Download, fund, and bet from anywhere in Iowa. Circa Sports Iowa. Sports betting the way it should be. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com. Must be over 21 and present in Iowa to bet. Have a gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
If recent hail may have impacted your home, contact Wolf Roofing. Our Hague-certified inspectors provide free, honest assessments the Wolf way. And Wolf Roofing has been serving Central Iowa and the state of Iowa since 1993. If you're concerned about hail damage, reach out to Wolf Roofing. Free Hague-certified inspectors deliver accurate, insurance-trusted roof assessments you can rely on. Thorough, honest, the Wolf way. Check out Wolf Roofing online, wolfroofing.net.
Trent Condon here, joined by Dr. Ethan Heisman from Elite Eye Care. Tell us a little bit about those back-to-school exams.
Back-to-school eye exams should always be part of the back-to-school process for the kids. 80% of what our kids learn, it's through vision. So it's very important that the kids, even if you feel like they see okay, get in for an eye exam and make sure that everything's good so we don't have any vision problems that are interfering with their learning.
And not just for the youngsters, everybody needs to take care of their eyes.
Absolutely. Health problems, not just eye health problems that can be detected through your annual eye exam.
That's Dr. Ethan Heisman, Elite Eye Care.
We don't want to make this too complex. Hit us in the contacts. Let's set up a contract. We want you at Sonorama. We make all the signs. You just make the commas. Stress-free life out in the Bahamas. If you need a life without any drama, it's just Sonorama. 30 years experience and we ain't gonna drift back. Building up a brand and we always keep it intact.
Cyclorama of Urbandale, 10301 Dennis Drive in Urbandale.
If you're thinking of incorporating or setting up an Iowa LLC, zoom right past LegalZoom and work with Rush Niggett, a Brick Gentry PC. He's set up an affordable online small business package that helps you decide whether to form a limited liability company LLC or a corporation. With Rush Niggett's help, it's easy to form your new small business. Rush Niggett, a business lawyer with Brick Gentry Law PC. Go to rushonbusiness.com. It's good to have Rush on your side.
Before, during, or after the game, your football headquarters for this year is Bevy's in West Des Moines. Bevy's after a football Friday night, Bevy's for college Saturday, and Bevy's for all the pro football action. A great brunch menu to get you ready for your football watching on the weekend. And it doesn't matter your team, you know you'll be covered at Bevy's because they love football just like you. Bevy's Tavern, 1350th Street in West Des Moines. Bevy's is your football headquarters.
Hello, my name is Dr. Kelsey Edwards with Fuller Associates Family Dentistry. I'd like to invite you to join our practice. If you're looking for a new dentist, we're accepting new patients. I'd love to create the smile you deserve in a judgment-free zone. We have 2 convenient locations to choose from in Des Moines and Altoona and offer extended evening hours. As a third-generation dentist, I've had the pleasure of following in my grandfather's footsteps and now working alongside Dr. Stephen Fuller. You can find Fuller Associates Family Dentistry on Facebook or Instagram or by calling us at 515-266-3437.
At the Chicken Coop, we're starting from scratch.
That's right. We're dropping some new recipes along with your favorites, and they're all made from scratch.
Boneless wings and chicken tenders made from scratch when you order.
Get your spice on with our new Nashville hot chicken sandwich.
Or our new buffalo chicken sandwich.
Both made from scratch.
Don't forget our wings, made with 12 different sauces that are, you guessed it, made from scratch.
The Chicken Coop has the best chicken and is made from scratch in our kitchen.
Stop in or order online today.
You're listening to The Lunch Rush with Trent Condon on 102.1 FM and 1350 ESPN Des Moines.
Back with you on a Football Friday. I'm Trent Condon. Thanks for being with us on The Lunch Rush, 11 to 1 each and every weekday here on ESPN Des Moines, along with the Rush Radio Network. Make sure you hit subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube, as we come to you each and every day, along with on the Rush Radio Network. Beyond the Bench from 4 until 6, coming up with Sean Roberts and Lucas Strain. And each and every morning, kick-started with Ross Peterson, Travis Justice with the Rush Morning Show. Eugene Rapay writes for the Des Moines Register, and he joins us here today, as he does throughout the course of the season. We're getting closer and closer, Eugene. Good to have you once again. Good to hear your voice once again. It's been too long. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. I'm glad to have this reunion here, and I'm glad to hear you back on the airwaves, and I'm glad we could chop it up about the Cyclones again.
Absolutely looking forward to it, and it is an incredibly compelling season, one that it feels difficult to wrap your arms around exactly what this team's going to look like and how they're going to be, but you've had plenty of media availability already. There's going to be a glimpse, I believe, tomorrow that there's going to be an opportunity to see this team a little bit more after Big 12 football media days. Now getting a chance to talk to Jimmy Rogers and a number of the players throughout the course of this week. Do you at least feel a little bit more confident how you feel about what this team is going to look like this season?
Maybe not so for like how the team's going to look, but I feel confident in the direction and in the vision that Jimmy Rogers seems to be putting forth for his players. They seem to be very bought in. I felt like there were a couple of moments this week where it was very Dan McCarney-esque with the way that he's just able to rally the troops and rally the guys and get them bought in on his vision. This man believes that they're going to win a Big 12 title, and he's going to do everything that he can to keep it going. And I think for him to believe that, it has trickled down into his players, and you could see it come together. Of course, I'd love to see what the personnel looks like first before we, put confidence or put stock into what the team's going to look like. But I think for right now, Jimmy Rogers is saying all the right things. The players are doing all the right things. And it seems to be moving in a very good direction as fall camp is underway.
Another component is you mentioned picking his team to win the Big 12 conference this year, and there's confidence. I said yesterday, I think you can get away with that in year number one. I don't think it's something, if you're coming off a disappointing year, that you can quite use that ammunition or do those kind of things in the same realm. What was your takeaway from that? And after hearing him kind of explain himself in the decision to vote the Cyclones to win the Big 12 this year?
I think if you're a Cyclone fan and if you heard his response to it, you're ready to run through a brick wall. You're ready to even roll up to Jack Trice Stadium if you want, put on some pads and get going for the Cardinal and Gold. I thought that Jimmy Rogers, just the way that he explained himself, it makes sense. Of course, you're brought in to win. You're brought in to do something. If you in any facet of life, you're trying to do your best. You're trying to go for the big thing. You're trying to win. You don't really sign up for second place. You don't sign up for anything less than that. And right now that everyone is you got to talk the talk and hopefully get everyone to walk the walk as well. But if you come in and you're not confident or you're like, this is going to be a rough year, rebuilding year, that's going to reflect on your players. Your players are going to see that. They're going to lose steam. They're going to lose confidence, maybe get complacent. And right now they're trying to avoid all that. And I think that Jimmy Rogers has them going, clicking in the right directions. And I've seen some of the social media responses from fans, and I think that they are all looking at it the right way. Like, man, this guy is a good galvanizer. He's a good rallier. And I think it got not only his players going, but any of the fans who saw that clip or saw that response to why he picked his team to finish first or win the Big 12 title.
You go through football and really in the NFL this week with training camp going on, the big stories have been about injuries. We know that's going to happen, and that's just football, right? It's going to be there. Outside of the Alls injury, which was a big one back in the springtime when he tore his ACL, a almost in-marker starter at one of the safety positions this season. It feels like they're in pretty good shape overall. How about during camp? What has Jimmy Rogers said about the health of this team as they move forward?
Yeah, he said that they're in good shape. There are no major injuries. The 126 players on the roster, 124 are good to go. Guys like River Peppers are coming back from a lower leg season-ending injury from last season. Max Balloon, who had a torn ACL at Washington State. Those two guys are trending in the right directions. And other than that, they are pretty much it's been a clean bill of health, which is exactly what you want to see. Of course, the Alls injury was disappointing. The Saladin Allah as well at running back. That was a tough blow, but then they got Arnold Barnes from Tulane coming in to help replenish the ranks there. So they feel very good with where they're at, and hopefully for Iowa State, I know they've had some bad injury luck over the last couple of years, but they're hoping that it'll be a lot better this year as they trudge into this new era.
As you envision this football team, one of the big things defensively is what we've grown accustomed to in the John Haycock defense and what they've done recently. It is going to be a new look this year with the four-man front up front there. Just your thought about the transition, and I guess there's ever a time to do it, it's when you're bringing in 80 new players.
Yes. It's definitely going to be a new scheme. They're going to run a 4-2-5 versus the John Haycock 3-3-5. I think that one of the things that fans will love about this new defense is that there is going to be a lot more pressure up front. There's going to be an additional down lineman. Their goal is to create more stacks, create more pressures, and I think that this defensive scheme will be one that'll be a lot more palatable than there were definitely, as good as John Haycock's system was, there were definitely a couple of moments there where you would have loved to see more pressure on the opposing quarterback, or felt like the opposing quarterbacks had all day to throw. This time they're looking to eliminate that. You look at the guys that they brought in from Washington State. They had 6 ex-Cougars come along for the ride to Ames, and those guys combined for 14 sacks. The Iowa State defensive line last year combined for 5.5 sacks. They're looking to crank it up front, and it really all starts in the trenches. And I think if you're an Iowa State fan, you can get excited about that asset of the defense.
Over to the offense and what it's going to look like this year. Tyler Roll comes back in to run the offense this season. And when he said Aiden Flora can be like Christian McCaffrey, in my opinion, that definitely gets the antenna up.
Yeah, no doubt. That definitely got the antenna up as well. I think Aiden Flora was a guy that boomed and just exploded on the special teams front, and now you're going to see him a lot more in the backfield, getting carries with Cameron Petaway. Tyler Roll's offense is very clear. They want to be physical, and that means they're going to run a lot. They want to dominate time of possession, which he likes to call time of physicality. So expect a lot of running. I'm sure that's where Jalen Rayner will come in with some play-action passes and RPOs and things like that. But expect a huge diet of Aiden Flora and Cameron Petaway. I think the reference there is definitely high, but the comparison there is very high to Christian McCaffrey. That, like you said, that got a lot of antennas going in the media room. But I think if Aiden Flora can be that versatile, if he can be that guy that can run the ball but also be a threat out of the backfield to catch passes and also impact the return game, I think if you're Iowa State, you got to sign up for that. To have a weapon like that and they can make a name for himself in all those different areas of the game, that's going to be very exciting.
So offensively, I thought it was interesting when we heard Jimmy Rogers talk about the freshman wide receivers. And obviously a guy that I think a lot of people here in Central Iowa know incredibly well, that's Jeffrey Roberts, who played most of his career at Ames, finished up at Dowling Catholic this past season, but a couple other freshmen as well. Do you anticipate we're going to see some of those youngsters? And I guess it's a little bit easier now with the new 5-for-5 rule. You don't have to worry about red shirts. So if those young freshmen are ready to go, there might be some reps out there at wide receiver.
Yeah, 100%. You don't have to worry about managing their game load or being strategic when there's a 4-game limit to preserve redshirt status. And with the way that Iowa State has been working through since the spring, really, it looks like that they like to really rotate their receivers a lot. And if those guys can play, why not? Why not have them contribute? You want the best 11 players out there. And if they're able to get in the rotation, I wouldn't be surprised if we see snaps just with the way that things are lined up right now. Like, of course, there's going to be the Evan Boyds, the Amari Hayes, the Carter Pabs, and the Cody Jacksons that are probably going to be the go-to guys. But this new 5-for-5 rule and just the way that they've been talking about the freshmen so far, I wouldn't be surprised if you see them line up and get some snaps and even targets to help the offense move along. The reviews for those 3 guys and Jeffrey Roberts, like you mentioned, have been great so far.
Jeffrey Roberts, he was an eye-opener watching him last year with the Bruins, and he has a chance to be really, really good. Go back home now after being in Ames for so long. Should be a fun one to watch coming up this season for Iowa State. Eugene Rapay joining us from the Des Moines Register. Eugene, one more on the basketball front, over to men's basketball here to wrap things up. After we get through the summer now, we're getting ready for school to start back up once again. just where you sit. I know you had some opportunities, talk to coaches, see a couple of different things overall. Where are you with the men's team as we get ready for the start of the school year?
I think that the transfers and the newcomers that they brought in are just the exact fits for what TJ Otzelberger wants. It looks like that they've got players of different skill sets that really complement each other well. I think Trey Singleton is going to be a guy that a lot of people are going to be excited about as he continues to grow. He still has now 4 years of eligibility with the new rules, and they want to use him in a Joshua Jefferson type role. But then you also look at Leon Bond and also Jaquan Johnson. Just all the newcomers just seem to fit everything that Otzelberger wants to run, and I think that I wouldn't be surprised if we see this team yet again consistently in the top 25. I think right now I'm curious to see what the rest of the starting five will look like, and we're going to have to wait until preseason time to get a better sense of that. But Killian Toure and Jamarian Bateman and Dominicus Plata and Blake Buchanan all seem ready to take a larger step forward. They've been taking more of a leadership role in the locker room and on the court, but also just development-wise and with their game. And so I'm excited to see what that leap will look like because, as we know, that freshman to sophomore jump is big. But even for the transfers, like how many transfers for the Cyclones over the years, they do very well in their first year, and then they just shoot and take off in their second year. So I think there's a lot of excitement there for the returners as well.
Eugene Rapay, read him at the Des Moines Register, and he joins us here on the Lunch Rush. Eugene, good to catch up with you again. We'll talk to you again soon. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you for having me on. It was great hearing your voice again on the airwaves.
Appreciate it. That's Eugene Rapay. Good guy and doing good work over at the Des Moines Register. Also, you can find his work over there basically each and every day as we get ready for the start of football season. Hawkeye fans, we got you covered coming up in hour number 2. Tom Kakert will join us from HawkeyeReport.com along with the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holtis, plus our picks of the day presented by Circa Sports. All coming up here, hour number 2. It's the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports on the Rush Radio Network and 102.1 ESPN Des Moines. America's turning 250 this year, and Circa Sports is celebrating by offering all users in Iowa $250. For everyone in Iowa, all you have to do is deposit $250 on your Circa Sports app, then play through that deposit. Once you do, Circa Sports will reward you with $250 right into your account. This is available for everyone in Iowa, new and existing users. Celebrate 250 years and find out more at circasports.com today. Must be 21 or older and in Iowa. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
We are ready. We've waited for this one for a long time. The anticipation, the excitement, the intensity. The teams are on the field looking to build on last week's success.
Construction doesn't need a play-by-play call, but it does need a team. Like the team at Graphite Construction Group. From concept to planning to building completion, our team is with you every step of the way.
And the beam is up.
Mitch, this isn't a field goal.
You mean like it's a touchdown? Graphite Construction Group.
Graphite Construction Group. We build it better.
So, Russ, what do you do in the off-season?
Mitch, we don't have an off-season.
I think you all know by now that the Chicken Coop is one of my favorite places to go for a cold one and great food. And their new made-from-scratch menu has me going back even more. Their signature wings with 12 different sauces. The Nashville Hot Chicken Sandwich. And you gotta try the new Big B chopped cheese. And the Chicken Coop has 3 locations. Urbandale, West Des Moines, and Ankeny. Wherever you are in the metro, the Chicken Coop has you covered. If you're thinking of incorporating or setting up an Iowa LLC, zoom right past LegalZoom and work with Rush Niggett, a Brick Gentry PC. He's set up an affordable online small business package that helps you decide whether to form a limited liability company LLC or a corporation. With Rush Niggett's help, it's easy to form your new small business. Rush Niggett, a business lawyer with Brick Gentry Law PC. Go to rushonbusiness.com. It's good to have Rush on your side.
Do you remember the last walk-off homer to win the World Series? It's been a while, but the answer is 1993. Do you know when Wolf Roofing started roofing houses? That's right, 1993. Wolf Roofing has been around for a long time. For your next roofing project, put the experience of Wolf Roofing on your side. Find them on the web at wolfroofing.net or give them a call at 515-225-8866. or online wolfroofing.net.
We want you at Sonorama. We make all the signs, you just make the commas. Stress-free life out in the Bahamas. If you need a life without any drama, it's just Sonorama. Over 700 locations. We got owners spanning all across the nations. Imagine what we do with the next generation. Everything here, just a big celebration. 1986 when we started it all. Looking at us now, I wouldn't change it at all. We don't want to make this too complex. Hit us in the contacts, let's set up a contract. We want you at Sonorama.
Sinorama of Urbandale, 10301 Dennis Drive in Urbandale. Online, sinorama.com/IA-Urbandale.
KRNT Des Moines is 102.1 FM and 1350 ESPN, a Des Moines Media Group station. Your local solution to get your business wanted, found, and chosen. The biggest sports stories are just getting started. From Hawkeyes and Cyclones to the NFL, MLB, NBA, and beyond. This is The Lunch Rush, presented by Circa Sports. Now, here's Trent Condon.
Hour number 2 as we put a cap on the week. Week number 1 here of the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports. Thanks for joining us wherever you may be, online at therushradio.com. Watching us on YouTube, just search The Rush Radio and hit subscribe while you're over there, along with Sean and Lucas coming up this afternoon from 4 until 6 o'clock with Beyond the Bench, and each and every morning with The Morning Rush with Ross and Travis. You can find all those on the Rush Radio Network and right here on the radio as well, ESPN Des Moines 102.1 FM and 1350 AM. A bunch of different places you can go. You can also listen to the show each and every day on the TuneIn app. I mentioned it before, one of my favorite apps out there because, well, as you have probably heard if you've listened to me in the past, you know that got a couple of young kids. We're running around all the time, and unless I'm in Iowa City at a game at Kinnick Stadium, a lot of times I'm at a softball field or a soccer field or at a wrestling match, whatever it may be. Well, the TuneIn app is incredible for college sports. So I'm sure most of you out there have watched the Red Zone channel on the NFL Network and what they've been able to do, putting that thing together. And now I was always an Andrew Siciliano fan. The new guy, he's fine. But Scott Hansen, he's fine. I'm still Siciliano. But that aside. But you know what it is. They're bouncing back and forth. Well, on the TuneIn app, they do the exact same thing audio-wise for college football. And for all the properties that they have, they're jumping around different games. You're going down to a game in Arkansas. Coming up next, we're going out to Pullman to watch Washington State. On and on and on. It's awesome. So if you are somebody like me, busy a lot of times on Saturdays, don't have video, you're not sitting in front of your TV, the TuneIn app is great for that. And then on the TuneIn app, search the Rush Radio Network, and you can listen to all 3 of the shows there also. Well, I want to talk a little college football here to begin. We got Tom Kakert coming up in about 10 minutes. We'll talk Hawkeyes with Tom coming up in a moment. But I want to start first with something that happened, I think, during our show yesterday, Drew, is when this came out. Drew Reinhardt, my radio producer here. Drew, the Purdue new athletic director, was introduced. Ho-hum. Nothing's going to come out of this, right? And suddenly, a comment that has gone everywhere. Let's hear it right now. The new AD at Purdue throwing a little bit of shade at the rival.
Every recruit, every current student athlete will hear this message repeatedly. We are here to win championships. If you don't want to win championships, go to Indiana.
Okay. If you don't want to win championships, go to Indiana. And for a very long time, that comment would have worked out. Before Kirk Cignetti got there 2 years ago, this was the losingest program at the Power 4 level. Basketball, it has been a long, long drought for the Hoosiers. Made the national championship game in the early 2000s, but you got to go back to 1987, the last time they won a national championship there. Yeah, they have swimming titles. Nobody cares. They have some other things. But still, okay, it's a rivalry. But coming on the heels of Indiana football winning a national championship, going 16-0, running roughshod over college football and doing something that most everybody, myself included, thought could never happen before, there's comments, there's riling people up, there's generating excitement. But for Tommy McClellan, to do that, the new athletic director, to do that and to throw shade in that way. Talk about an incredible misstep here at your opening press conference, Drew. Just head scratching.
Yeah, I don't know what he was thinking there. I mean, I get it. They're rivals, but you can't deny what Indiana has become in football. And I mean, we'll see if they can keep it up this season, and which I think Kirk Cincinnati will do pretty well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know how you make those kind of comments.
Talk about tone deaf. That was absolutely the case there. That is the new athletic director, Tommy McClellan. And when you step out like that, well, now you got to back it up. And Purdue, it is going to be, I think, difficult, obviously, to do that. A college football note for you. I was buzzing around on social media today, and I found this graphic. And as I bring it up here, it is two different things. Number one, coming up a week from 2 months, not a week. I got too excited for college football. 2 months from today, November 7th. It's a Saturday, and it's about as big as you can imagine Saturday that is coming up. So we are 2 months away from November 7th. This is what is on the docket for you. Now, traditionally, over the last decade or so, we've seen that first Saturday of November has morphed into, that's when Alabama and LSU are going to play. And as those programs have gone at different statures here lately, you know that was going to be a big game. And for the most part, that has been there. It will be back in that stage once again. We'll get Alabama and LSU. But also coming up that weekend, how about Oregon, Ohio State? That epic game that they played 2 years ago during the regular season. Then, of course, what happened in the playoff is Ohio State in the Rose Bowl just absolutely blitzed past them, jumped out, 35-0, whatever it was. Felt like Iowa was in a Rose Bowl as we were watching the Ducks get throttled in that one. All right, so you got a great SEC game. You got a great Big Ten game. Oh, we're not done. How about a great Big 12 game? How about the Holy War? BYU with a lot of aspirations that they're going to get it done. And you talk about a blood rivalry. That's absolutely what you get with Utah and BYU. Two programs that definitely hate each other, have expectations. The new staff at Utah, Kyle Whittingham, pushed out the door, probably the right way to look at it. And then, of course, he lands on his feet at Michigan this year. And then BYU with Satake coming back for another season. Bear Bachmeier at the quarterback spot. A lot of people like that BYU team coming up this year. Another SEC tilt coming up. Ole Miss against Georgia should be a great one there. But then finally, maybe the game that I'm looking forward to more than any. And I know Texas and Ohio State play this year. We'll get Michigan, Oklahoma early in the season. Of course, here in the state of Iowa, we'll get Cyhawk. Those are all well and good. But Miami, Notre Dame, and it's coupled with my age. If you've seen the 30 for 30, if you're not an old man like me, and I had to shave the stubble away and get the clean shave look so I don't look so old here on camera. But the Catholics versus convicts, the storylines that were there, what happened a year ago in week number 1 of the season, that opening, Sunday night of the year, was it Sunday, Monday, whatever it was, when Miami and Notre Dame got together, to see that game, to see it once again and kind of the renewed rivalry, because these teams have played, but the circumstances are different than they were in the late 80s, early 90s, when Miami was really running, the Hurricanes making the run all the way to the championship and having a shot to actually beat that Indiana team a year ago. I think Notre Dame's loaded. I still have to see. Dario Mensah is a guy that's getting buzzed for the Heisman this year, coming in from Duke. He led, remember, the Dukies to the ACC title. If you listened to my show a year ago, I gave you the Dukies out as a championship pick. Now, I didn't think it was going to happen in that fashion at a team that has 5 losses to get to win an ACC championship, but I gave them as a dark horse and to get to the conference title game a year ago. Now he's at Miami. They're going to be loaded, but they were so good up front, and to think of what they're going to do, even with the money that they've invested and spent, like the running back spot, I think Mensah's going to be good. It's Mario Cristobal, and seemingly every single year he's going to have a loss that just leaves you scratching your head. For both these teams, a loss is not going to be knocking them out of playoff contention, but you can't stub your toe. If you look at this and you say, you know what, I like Miami in this spot. Okay, lay out your ideas. Okay, that's fine. If Notre Dame loses that game, I don't know if Notre Dame can afford another loss this season to get to the playoff. The schedule, once again, is a joke. It is an absolute joke. A year ago, they were able to manipulate. They had 2 difficult games. They were both at the beginning of the season. What did they do? They put a bye week in between. Well, this year, they open up in Lambeau against Wisconsin. They get Rice coming to town. I don't think the Owls are going to hoot anything there. Michigan State, who's rebuilding under Fitz, they're not going to be very good. They got to go on the road to Purdue. After that, they got to go on the road to North Carolina, Stanford. But here is the stretch. at BYU, bye week, neutral site game against Navy, then that Notre Dame matchup, but they get that one at home, and then they wrap up with Boston College, SMU, and on the road at Syracuse. If they lose to Miami, and say lose to BYU, at 10-2, what are you hanging your hat on? A home win against SMU, who might be decent. A win against Navy, who could be the favorite in the American. That's what you're saying is a playoff team? You take away the helmet, you take away Rudy, you take away everything that goes along with Notre Dame. That's not a playoff team. They'll probably be a playoff team, though, certainly after getting left out a year ago. One final thing as I was perusing again, we'll get Tom Kakert coming up here in just a moment. I found this little note, and it's got Iowa State's football schedule. Comes from College Football on X, College FB on X. And it has the win probability of each game for Iowa State this season, according to ESPN's win probability model. So I was thinking, well, how many games is Iowa State favored in this year? Just off the top of my head, well, the over-under is 4.5. It's probably 4 or 5. That's probably what it is. If you guessed that, like I did, you'd be wrong. Iowa State this year is only favored in 3 games. Their win probability over 50%, I guess, is the better way to look at it. The home opener against SEMO, Southeast Missouri State. 87% chance of winning at home against Bowling Green. And the only other game where their win probability is over 50% is the home tilt against West Virginia on October 3rd. Some of the low numbers out there in terms of win probability, the lowest on the road at BYU, 11%. They give just a 16% chance of winning at Kinnick. That's dead wrong. We know the chances are better than that. It doesn't matter what Iowa State looks like. We know the chances are going to be better than that. A 22% chance of winning at Baylor. I think it's a lot higher than that. As usual, the modeling that ESPN does for a lot of their things sucks. And I think we can say it sucks on this one also. Definitely give them a better chance in a lot of those games than what they have there. Let's talk some Hawkeyes. Tom Kakert is going to join us coming up on the other side. We'll talk Hawks with him. Football camp is underway. A couple of the big storylines for the Iowa Hawkeye football team. And no, not just quarterback. We're going to dive in a little bit deeper. Plus some basketball talk coming up next with Tom Kakert, Hawkeye Report. Stay right there. This is The Lunch Rush with Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports on ESPN Des Moines and the Rush Radio Network.
The world's largest sports book in Las Vegas is available right at your fingertips in Iowa. Trent Condon here for Circa Sports. The Circa Sports Iowa app is sports betting the way it should be. Bet anywhere in Iowa and experience high betting limits, tight money line splits, and exceptional customer service. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com and start betting like a pro from anywhere in Iowa. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
We are ready. We've waited for this one for a long time. The anticipation, the excitement, the intensity. The teams are on the field looking to build on last week's success.
Construction doesn't need a play-by-play call, but it does need a team. Like the team at Graphite Construction Group. From concept to planning to building completion, our team is with you every step of the way.
And the beam is up.
Mitch, this isn't a field goal.
You mean like it's a touchdown? Graphite Construction Group.
Graphite Construction Group. We build it better.
So, Russ, what do you do in the offseason?
Mitch, we don't have an off-season.
Family owned since 1970, Kemker's True Value in Rental helps you buy what you want and rent what you need. Get to work on that to-do list with help from Kemker's True Value in Rental. Kemker's has all your hardware needs, grills for that family barbecue, and a one-stop shop for all your lawn and garden needs. Plus, their rental catalog is perfect for do-it-yourselfers. Make it Kemker's True Value in Rental. Find out what they can do for you at KemkersTrueValue.com. That's KemkersTrueValue.com.
We want you at Sonorama. We make all the signs, you just make the commas. Stress-free life out in the Bahamas. If you need a life without any drama, it's just Sonorama. Over 700 locations. We got owners spanning all across the nations. Imagine what we do with the next generation. Everything here, just a big celebration. 1986 when we started it all. Looking at us now, I wouldn't change it at all. We don't want to make this too complex. Hit us in the contacts, let's set up a contract. We want you at Sonorama.
Sinorama of Urbandale, 10301 Dennis Drive in Urbandale. Online, sinorama.com/IA-Urbandale. Joined by Dr. Heidi Bell with Elite Eye Care. It's football season. Concussions always a big topic.
This year, 2 to 3 million sports-related concussions will occur, and about half of those go unreported. 2 out of every 10 high school students will suffer a concussion. The most important part is following through with your doctor, but the recommendations are different than they used to be. At Elite Eye Care, we can diagnose and treat the post-concussion visual symptoms that typically exist.
That's Dr. Heidi Bell with Elite Eye Care, with locations in Waukee, 2 in Ankeny, and the newest location in Norwalk for Elite Eye Care.
Hello, my name is Dr. Kelsey Edwards with Fuller Associates Family Dentistry. I'd like to invite you to join our practice. If you're looking for a new dentist or accepting new patients, I'd love to create the smile you deserve in a judgment-free zone. We have 2 convenient locations to choose from in Des Moines and Altoona and offer extended evening hours. As a third-generation dentist, I've had the pleasure of following in my grandfather's footsteps and now working alongside Dr. Stephen Fuller. You can find Fuller Associates Family Dentistry on Facebook or Instagram or by calling us at 515-266-3437.
Before, during, or after the game, your football headquarters for this year is Bevy's in West Des Moines. Bevy's after a football Friday night, Bevy's for college Saturday, and Bevy's for all the pro football action. A great brunch menu to get you ready for your football watching on the weekend. And it doesn't matter your team, you know you'll be covered at Bevy's because they love football just like you. Bevy's Tavern, 1350th Street in West Des Moines. Bevy's is your football headquarters.
At the Chicken Coop, we're starting from scratch.
That's right. We're dropping some new recipes along with your favorites, and they're all made from scratch.
Boneless wings and chicken tenders made from scratch when you order.
Get your spice on with our new Nashville hot chicken sandwich.
Or our new buffalo chicken sandwich.
Both made from scratch.
Don't forget our wings, made with 12 different sauces that are, you guessed it, made from scratch.
The Chicken Coop has the best chicken and is made from scratch in our kitchen.
Stop in or order online today.
Your lunch break, your sports fix. Back to the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon.
Back with you once again here on the Lunch Rush. Glad to have you aboard with us on a Football Friday as we get ready for football season. Game number 1 in the books of the NFL last night as we await, still a couple of weeks away from week 0 of the college football slate. My buddy Tom Kakert joins us now on the hotline. Tom, we talked for a while yesterday. We tackled on the Hawkeye Report podcast a number of Big Ten over-unders. Glad to have you aboard with us back on the radio here on 102.1 ESPN Des Moines, along with the Rush Radio Network streaming everywhere. How you been doing, Tom?
Oh, great, and it's good to have you back on the air somewhere, and with your show and everything. And, it's good to be talking Hawks again on a Friday with you.
Definitely feels like all is right in the world once again. We're back to our normalcy and back into the swing of things and love that part of it. So camp has began for the Iowa football program. It's always fun. I get a kick out of the guys. They're carrying in their big box fans into the hotels. They're getting checked in. And we know the work that these guys are going to be doing here over the next couple of weeks. Quarterback spot, look, it feels like we've talked it to death, and we're probably going to do even more over the next 3 weeks or so, Tom. But that aside, I want to talk about a couple other position groups, and I think big storylines for this team this year. And this is one that I brought up on my podcast yesterday. The pressure is on, I think, Tim Lester now to deliver at the quarterback spot and with the passing game. We've seen the improvements that they have made in the run game. It is apparent. You can see it. And it wasn't just Caleb Johnson 2 years ago. This past season, Kamari Moulton, the consistency. We know that they can run the football, and they've kind of fixed some of the issues that they had there. They made the decision not to go into the portal, to bring in another quarterback. They're going to rely on the guys that they want. They both got a full spring practice. They're both going to get an August camp. They went out and got wide receivers with Evan James and the boogeyman Tony Diaz. They did everything that you need. It's kind of put up or shut up time now for Tim Lester in the passing game. Do you see it the same way?
Yeah, probably, because they, all the pieces are there. And Lester was the one that had to sign off and say, you know what, we like our 2 options at quarterback, and one of these guys is going to get the shot to lead the team. And they felt comfortable enough to say, either Hecklinski or Hank Brown can be that guy, that because they could have easily went in the portal and found a guy that might have more experience or whatever, just a guy to bring in to be the starter. And they decided, these guys can get it done. And then they went out and instead, enhanced that receiver room with James and Diaz, the boogeyman, as you said. And you got DJ Benami is back too. So you've got kind of a trio there, and along with, Thomas Meyer, you got Addison Ostringa back. You've got, Dayton Howard was coming on at the end of the year. You've got a lot of options. Reese Vanderzee, we haven't even mentioned him, a healthy Reese Vanderzee for this year. I mean, they've got some opportunities, and then, you could throw the ball out of the outfield out of the backfield to, Nathan McNeil or Kamari Moulton or Xavier Williams or LJ Phillips. So they've got tons of options here this year, and what should be, I think, a good offensive line once again this year. So they have, and they might have to score a lot of points, frankly, this year if the defense struggles. So big year for Tim Lester, I think. You're right.
That is something also that I look at. You mentioned the offensive line. I'm with you. I think it's going to be good. Meslinski, can he stay healthy? We'll see on that front. But you have two preseason All-Americans with Cade Pieper and with Trevor Lauk, and the two positions that are important. At least we thought two positions going to be important. Left tackle, yes, for Lauk. What about the center position? Cale Winter, his name came up a couple of different times over in Chicago for you last week, and suddenly wheels start turning a little bit. He wins the the hay toss, Hail Bay toss over at Solon at Beef Days. He got that component. He's a guy that's been brought up from time to time. Is it? I want to get your thoughts. Is it maybe Pieper just has not completely got there and everything that they're asked at the center position, or is it just Cale Winters playing that well?
I think it's kind of, here's the thing that the mantra he's always said is the 5 best will start. And it might be a situation where Cale Winter at center, Cade Pieper back at right guard makes that the best 5, if that makes sense. Better than Pieper at center and, a Lucas Allgaier or Mike Myslinski or even Cale Winter at the right guard position. And that may be what it comes down to if they end up moving them around. And it's still a long way to go before that happens. But when you hear Ferentz bring it up, and I talk to a couple of people, and they're like, hey, keep an eye on Cale Winter. And I'm like, okay, so there's at least something to it. And I'm really curious to see what they say at Media Day a week from today and what we see for our own two eyes at practice on the 15th.
Talking with Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com. Great deal coming up. We'll talk about that coming up here in just a little bit. Tom, we have gone around and around about the defense, and something that just jumped to my mind is, what if that defense does take a step back? You mentioned that earlier. In a way, I mean, the sustainability of being able to do it year after year after year and playing not just at a good level or a solid level, playing at elite level, there has to be some time that there is some kind of step back this year. And with the questions at defensive tackle, a new middle linebacker out there, you love Zach Lutmer, but still some questions in that defensive backfield. Very well could be this year that they take a step back. What would it take, though, for them to maintain, to still play at an incredible level, be a top 20 defense again this year? What would be the answers that you would need in order for that to happen?
Yeah, I'll throw this out there as just kind of fun thought. Has there been a better D coordinator in the sport of college football the last decade than Phil Parker?
No.
I don't think you can put anybody with Phil Parker. I mean, he's got 9 straight seasons where they've allowed 20 points or less. Nobody else is doing that. I mean, it's crazy what he's been able to do. And, sometimes it hasn't been with like this, great deal of talent. They've had some really good players over the years and, Jack Campbell's and guys like that. But it's been pretty remarkable what he's been able to do, getting this defense to perform at a really high level. But I think this is their biggest test just because they're so inexperienced up front. And I'm really curious how they're going to stop the run. And they're going to throw a lot of bodies out there is what it sounds like based on what Kirk said. And they're going to see if those guys somebody can swim. And hopefully somebody can swim because they're going to have to find a way to limit. We saw it last year, how they got gashed a couple times. That the Indiana game and especially the Oregon game, they got gashed pretty good on the ground. So they're going to have to stop the run, and then they'll just not give up big plays the way they play the back end of their defense. But it's still just, boy, it's so many new faces. Only 3 starters back, and your top 8 defensive linemen are gone, and the 2 guys that are back are pretty limited reps. So we'll see what happens.
Middle linebacker Cam Buffington takes over. Montgomery was the starter at the end of last year, taking over for Harrell a year ago. When you look at Cam Buffington, we've all heard the praise and the excitement that's definitely there for this guy.
Yep.
You think maybe there's going to be a transit? Like, how good do you anticipate he's going to be? And I know it's going to go hand in hand. Look, those defensive tackles are going to have to keep blockers off of him in order for him to make plays. But what you've heard about Buffington and getting that role at middle linebacker, where we've seen Campbell and Jay Higgins and just the depth that we've seen at middle linebacker throughout the years and the elite play we've seen there, how good do you think he's going to be this year?
The name Jack Campbell is the comp that always comes up with him because of Buffington's not as big as Jack, but he's a good sized guy, 6'3", and he can get sideline to sideline like Jack Campbell could. And frankly, he's kind of a quiet leader like Jack Campbell. Jack wasn't the demonstrative leader on or off the floor. He was just a really quiet leader that just led by his actions on the field. And that's the comp that I would throw out, but I don't know that that's fair because Jack Campbell's one of probably the 3 or 4 best middle linebackers in the NFL right now. So, you have to temper it with a little bit of reality, but I think he's got a chance to be their next really good all Big Ten linebacker. And just because of his athleticism and the way he can get sideline to sideline, and he's a thumper too. So, I'm anxious to see how he performs.
Just over a month ago, Tom, you made your season prediction as you do on the 4th of July every year with your fearless forecast. And what popped out there was another successful season. As you and I were conversing yesterday on the podcast, we were doing over-unders, and I landed under. I landed under this year, and one of the main reasons for that is special teams. Iowa's won so many close games, and they're probably going to beat a bunch again this season. When you lose the best return man, maybe in Iowa history, college football history, and Caden Weechin, both your specialists. You also lose your recruiting or your special teams coordinator on top of it. That is a lot of question marks coming into the year. And if I was not elite defensively, I don't think they're going to be. They're not going to be elite, we know, offensively. And if they're not good at special teams, all of a sudden it goes from a potential 9-10 win season to a ho-hum 7-5. What do you see with the special teams?
Yeah, and that's I wrote something this week about the storylines for camp, and we just haven't talked much about the special teams as a collective, beat. We've talked about them when they're really good and what a difference they make, but boy, it's a lot of change this year from long snappers to new punter, new kicker. I think Lutmer will be fine as the punt returner, but is he going to be Caden Weechin? That's hard to. He's the best return guy in the history of Iowa football, and that's with all due respect to Tim Dwight, and you're going to be missing him, and you've lost LeVar Woods. Now I think Chris Bellizzi is going to be terrific, but it's still transition, and so you've got to. I think they'll be great in coverage. They've got all those young linebackers that they can throw out there, and all those guys can run and hit and everything. But it's a transition year for that. They haven't really had, other than Drew Stevens towards the end of the year a couple of years ago. I remember when he got pulled at Nebraska. They haven't really had a kicker issue, and you worry about that. But we'll see what Eli Ozick can do. He's hopefully Liberty, Missouri continues to be good to Iowa athletics. It was pretty good to the Iowa basketball team with Bennett Sturtz, and now they've got a kicker from that high school, Eli Ozick, coming in this year.
That is interesting. Now we anticipate he's not going to have the leg of a Drew Stevens, who was just had a cannon on there for a right leg. It's going to be different. Do you know or is that going to be a question we're probably going to get maybe next week over at Media Day, that we're going to find out exactly kind of what the range is looking like there? We don't anticipate he's going to be kicking. What was the attempt that they had against Penn State last year before the half? Probably not going to see any 60-plus yarders this year.
Yeah, well, I think that was like 66 yards. That's one of the calf regrets.
Yes,
I think definitely one of the most un-Kirk Ferentz-like decisions ever, and of course it blew up spectacularly. But yeah, that's just how it happens. Yeah, I would guess he's probably like 50 in. He can probably hit from there, but I don't know that there's much beyond that. And he's got to still win the job too. Caden Burr, kid from Bettendorf, big leg. He's probably going to have a say in it. So just like, the punter thing, I think everybody thought Boston Everett from Australia was going to come in and win that punter job. And it wouldn't surprise me if, Philpott from Waukee Northwest ends up being the punter this year for Iowa.
Tom, want to finish up with a little basketball for you. And we've talked to you and I a bunch this summer about Caden Daughtry, the summer that he had elevating himself into one of the top players in the country, continues to go up the ranks, and the top point guard that I was obviously looking at for the class of 2027 coming up next year. But they are still working other angles also, trying to find some other guys. And another big-time recruit, Jalen Davis, down to his top 10. That includes the Iowa Hawkeyes. He's going to be taking a visit on October 3rd. What can you tell us about Davis, and is this real?
Yeah, he's a kid that they went and saw last year for the first time really in person when Iowa was on that West Coast road trip when they played at Oregon and at Washington. They went and saw this kid because he was a highly touted point guard prospect and offered him immediately after watching him. No surprise, kid is really good. He's got some size. I saw him in May play a couple times at the Adidas event in South Bend, and he's a really talented, just makes the right play all the time, just knows how to handle the ball and set people up and find the open guy. He's not as dynamic and kind of, I guess the kids would call it like aura. He doesn't have the aura of a Caden Daughtry out on the floor, but he's bigger, doesn't shoot it as well, but he is really good. I mean, at UCLA and other schools are after him. He's a really talented player. So he's going to come in October. That is if Caden Daughtry hasn't made a decision yet. And I was checking around yesterday with some of our national guys on Daughtry, because in July when we talked to him, he said, "Hey, I'm going to make a list of 10 or 11 schools that I'm still considering and release that after we get done with Peach Jam. And I'm going to probably schedule some other visits." Neither of those things have happened. The only thing that he has on the books still right now that is public knowledge, at least, is a trip to Iowa City for the Iowa State weekend. That's it. So, he hasn't, the only thing he's tweeted out really is highlights of himself. He's going to play in Rucker Park at an event, I think, on the 17th. And then he got an offer from Arkansas. And I think that's pretty much it. So we're just kind of waiting to see if there's anything that comes from him. But the longer it goes with no other visits planned and no list of schools, the better Iowa has to feel about where they sit with him.
We're talking about the number one point guard in the country, a top 5 player, almost consensus now in the country, not from Ames, not from Cedar Rapids, not from Mason City, a kid from Florida, and that has Iowa at the top of his list. Tom, this would be a game changer. What would it mean for just the program as a whole to be able, on the heels of an Elite Eight, to land a prospect like this?
He's the type of kid that can take you to places where you haven't been in a long time. Maybe since 1980.
Wow. Well, they were 8 minutes away from it last year.
Yeah. I mean, that's not like being too hyperbolic, because they had a kid take him there to the cusp of that. And, Daughtry's just, there's a reason Bennett Sturts came and watched him play when we were in Vegas in July. Bennett showed up at the game and watched, and he goes, I got to see this. So, and Bennett talked to the kid. The kid came over and sought Bennett out to talk to him after a game and said, what is it like at Iowa, and what is it like playing for Ben McCollum? And he gave him very honest answers. He must have liked what he heard because he still has interest in Iowa. So, this could be program-defining moment for Ben McCollum. So we'll see what happens. But it could be pretty incredible because this kid, I'm telling you, and I'm not one to like get too much into the hype, but this kid is he is different in a way that other guards aren't, and he makes everybody better. He's the best. He's not like this super duper athlete that you think, wow, this guy is just a freak of nature. He's just a really, really skilled basketball player that just plays at a different level. I know McCollum's in love with him. So, it'd be huge. And that's an understatement.
Absolutely. Tom Kakert, Hawkeye Report. Tom, finally, no media availability is wrapped up now for the women's team. 11 players on the roster for this year. There was some talk, maybe with the rule that was enacted for the class of 2022. Could Hannah Stuelke return? Could Taylor McCabe? Doesn't sound like that's going to happen. But as we get ready for the start of the school year, how good do you think the women's team is going to be this season?
I think Danny Cambridge is exactly what they needed. That is just, and I know everybody will talk about McKenna Valechko, and she is an important piece as well. Cambridge is just different. She can go get buckets and at the guard position, and that is something that they did not have last year. And that's something they had with Caitlin Clark. That's something they had with Lucy Olson. And Danny plays really well with Chit Chat. They're the best of friends, and that backcourt's going to be a whole lot of fun for Iowa fans to watch. And then you get to, then McKenna Valechko can just kind of develop and kind of fit in. Instead of having these monster expectations placed on her, she can continue to develop. Because, you've got Cambridge and you've got maybe the best post in the country in Ava Hayden. I think you've got a pretty good nucleus there for Iowa. Now, the big thing they've got to do, because that bench is really limited, they have to stay healthy this year. Yeah. They can't have a rash of injuries. They've got to keep everybody, going.
Danny Carnegie. You said Cambridge, but yes, Carnegie is
Carnegie. Yeah,
yes.
I'm sorry.
Averaged nearly 20 a game in the SEC at Georgia. Yeah, that's a good starting point. Can get downhill. It's going to be fun to watch her. Well, it's going to be fun to get over to Hawkeye Report and sign up right now, Tom, because you have an offer going on right now about as good as you're going to 75% off your first year. Tell us about the details with Hawkeye Report.
Yeah, it is. We've never done anything like this, but they threw it at us the other day and they said, hey, go do this. Everybody's doing this on our network. So it's 75% off the subscription to Hawkeye Report. And that's basically like $2.50 a month. $30 for a year. I mean, it's just a complete bargain. So, and you get all of our national experts, you get access to the message boards and all the premium content on the entire network. And so just stop by and sign up and you can get all this. And and I think they still include you're getting a subscription to The Athletic too. So, that's even better. You can read Scott Docterman's great work and all the great college football and college basketball stuff there, and Cubs coverage and Twins coverage and everybody else. So it's awesome.
No doubt about it. Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com. Go and check out the 75% off deal right now, HawkeyeReport.com. Tom, out of time for today, but it is great. It feels like my Friday's now complete. I talked Hawkeyes with you.
Yes, thank you. This felt good to be back in this groove. All I missed is Ken asking me questions, but, that's okay.
Retirement happens, and someday, fingers crossed, we'll both get there also.
Yes, hopefully soon.
All right, Tom, be good. We'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, take care. Bye.
That's Tom Kakert, Hawkeye Report, joining us here as he does most each and every Friday throughout the course of the year. Quick time out on the other side. We'll go down south, down to St. Joe, KC, and get ready to talk a little bit more about the Kansas City Chiefs. It is Mitch Holtis, the voice of the Chiefs. He's next on The Lunch Rush with Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports.
Get in on the action with the world's largest sports book right at your fingertips. Circa Sports Iowa is where the pros play. Enjoy the highest limits, lowest takeouts, and competitive betting menus. Download, fund, and bet from anywhere in Iowa. Circa Sports Iowa. Sports betting the way it should be. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com. Must be over 21 and present in Iowa to bet. Have a gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
If recent hail may have impacted your home, contact Wolf Roofing. Our Hague certified inspectors provide free, honest assessments the Wolf way. And Wolf Roofing has been serving Central Iowa and the state of Iowa since 1993. If you're concerned about hail damage, reach out to Wolf Roofing. Free Hague certified inspectors deliver accurate, insurance trusted roof assessments you can rely on. Thorough, honest, the Wolf way. Check out Wolf Roofing online, wolfroofing.net.
Trent Condon here, joined by Dr. Ethan Heisman from Elite Eye Care. Tell us a little bit about those back-to-school exams.
Back-to-school eye exams should always be part of the back-to-school process for the kids. 80% of what our kids learn, it's through vision. So it's very important that the kids, even if you feel like they see okay, get in for an eye exam and make sure that everything's good so we don't have any vision problems that are interfering with their learning.
And not just for the youngsters, everybody needs to take care of their eyes.
Absolutely. Health problems, not just eye health problems that can be detected through your annual eye exam.
That's Dr. Ethan Heisman, Elite Eye Care.
Hello, my name is Dr. Kelsey Edwards with Fuller Associates Family Dentistry. I'd like to invite you to join our practice. If you're looking for a new dentist, we're accepting new patients. I'd love to create the smile you deserve in a judgment-free zone. We have 2 convenient locations to choose from in Des Moines and Altoona and offer extended evening hours. As a third-generation dentist, I've had the pleasure of following in my grandfather's footsteps and now working alongside Dr. Stephen Fuller. You can find Fuller Associates Family Dentistry on Facebook or Instagram or by calling us at 515-266-3437.
If you're thinking of incorporating or setting up an Iowa LLC, zoom right past LegalZoom and work with Rush Niggett, a Brick Gentry PC. He's set up an affordable online small business package that helps you decide whether to form a limited liability company, LLC, or a corporation. With Rush Niggett's help, it's easy to form your new small business. Rush Niggett, a business lawyer with Brick Gentry Law PC. Go to rushonbusiness.com. It's good to have Rush on your side. Before, during, or after the game, your football headquarters for this year is Bevy's in West Des Moines. Bevy's after a football Friday night, Bevy's for college Saturday, and Bevy's for all the pro football action. A great brunch menu to get you ready for your football watching on the weekend. And it doesn't matter your team, you know you'll be covered at Bevy's because they love football just like you. Bevy's Tavern, 1350th Street in West Des Moines. Bevy's is your football headquarters.
We don't want to make this too complex. Hit us in the contacts. Let's set up a contract. We want you at Sonorama. We make all the signs. You just make the commas. Stress-free life out in the Bahamas. If you need a life without any drama, it's just Sonorama. 30 years experience and we ain't gonna drip back. Building up a brand and we always keep it intact.
Sinorama of Urbandale. 10301 Dennis Drive in Urbandale. I think you all know by now that the Chicken Coop is one of my favorite places to go for a cold one and great food. And their new made-from-scratch menu has me going back even more. Their signature wings with 12 different sauces. The Nashville Hot Chicken Sandwich. And you gotta try the new Big B chopped cheese. And the Chicken Coop has 3 locations. Urbandale, West Des Moines, and Ankeny. Wherever you are in the metro, the Chicken Coop has you covered.
From Hawkeyes to Cyclones, the NFL to the NBA, the Lunch Rush rolls on with Trent Condon.
Welcome back. It is the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports on the Rush Radio Network, along with ESPN Des Moines, 102.1 FM and 1350 AM. Glad to have you aboard with us here on KRNT on the radio side. Coming up on the Rush Radio Network at 4 o'clock, it is Beyond the Bench with Sean Roberts and Lucas Straight, as they'll come to you guys live from 4 until 6 o'clock. And each and every morning, you can listen to the Morning Rush with Travis Justice and Ross Peterson. All that on the Rush Radio Network. As we're looking to track down Mitch Holtis, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, for our daily conversation down in St. Joe. Sounds like a lot of people down there making things happen. and get things going on that front. We're going to take a look and talk some offensive line with him today, as we have Coach Reed talking about the offensive line and a line that looks in solid shape. Josh Simmons, got a possibility that we saw out of him last year. A lot of different conversations piece. And if you know me in talking football, you definitely know offensive line, always a big part of the conversation for me. He is with us now. He is the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, as he is with us each and every day, brought to you by Papa John's of Iowa. He is Mitch Holthus. Mitch, good to hear your voice once again here on a Football Friday. How you doing?
I got to tell you, Trent, what happened. We've been waiting for the special, and Matt Donaldson in the Papa John's jetpack, he had to stop, I believe, in Leon to fuel up.
Yep.
He's hovering above my dorm. It got the attention of the security guards here, and he dropped the special. Are you ready for this?
I have been waiting all week. I cannot wait.
50% off all pizzas.
What?
50% off all pizzas. Papa John's, carry out only. 50% off all pizzas. Papa John's of Iowa, carry out only. That's not AI. That's real. I told you they were coming with it from Johnston, and the jetpack above the dorm, and then they peeled off and went back. Actually, it might have been Tom with him. So, yeah, that's your special. I'd never heard anything like that, but let's go. It's not going to last for long, so it's pretty cool. This early August State Fair Chiefs Training Camp special.
Absolutely love that, and I know a group of guys that definitely like the sound of that. They might be traveling up here to the state of Iowa to get that deal, 50% off all pizzas with Papa John's of Iowa. Mitch Holthus, that's those big offensive linemen. We know they definitely like some pizza, and they're in the spotlight for us here today.
I didn't dare tell them 50% off all pizzas carry out only at Papa John's, or they would have been out of here, and I'd have been in trouble with Coach. But I did ask Coach, and Coach Reed's a little bit understated on it, but he's also a connoisseur of offensive linemen. This is Picasso teaching art class at DMAC. Okay, that's what this is, and so that's where he starts. He's on the offensive line. So I asked him his overall feeling to this point about his starting group.
Yeah, so the inside three, I think, are top-notch, and both guards and center. Our left tackle is another year older. He was a heck of a player when he was healthy last year. So Josh Simmons, and he gets another year under his belt. It's a matter of making sure we get a right tackle in there that we feel good about, and more we brought in here for that reason. And last year, and so he's competing. He's got some good guys that he's going against. Poulet got some play time last year. Chu got some play time last year. We drafted this kid Benson from Indiana, or didn't draft him, but picked him up as a free agent. Benson showed up in our rookie minicamp, did a nice job there. So he's another one that has a chance at that spot.
So today it was interesting. Khalil Benson's a story here. He has been since day 2 the starting right tackle. Today, Trey Smith missed with a hip injury. It's not thought to be serious, but their Pro Bowl right guard that Coach mentioned, he mentioned those 3 are outstanding, and the 3 are really good, he mentioned. But so Benson moved inside to right guard from right tackle, and then Jalen Moore, picked up from the 49ers a year ago, who's in the battle for right tackle, slid in at that spot. But Benson, not only was he not drafted, he wasn't picked up by anybody as an undrafted free agent. He came to our tryouts with his cleats over his shoulder and made the team. And he's been the first-team right tackle since day 2 up here. So I know you don't want to overreact, but and then he moved to guard today and looked like he knew what he was doing. So he was on that Indiana National Championship team, but nobody picked him up. It's really an interesting story.
Well, and you know it as well as anybody, Mitch, just developing depth too. And even if it is just that, it's a depth piece early on. You saw it in the Super Bowl down in Tampa. And just if you don't have depth on that offensive line, you don't know when it's going to happen, but there's going to be at some point in the year, you're going to need that depth there and finding a piece. And the other part, Mitch, is a swing piece, a guy that could go inside and out. Those guys are difficult to find.
No question. Let me give you another one. I'll add a third one, and you're crushing it with those 2 observations, because this isn't stuff really that fans think about a lot, but it determines who wins and loses. And that is the prevalence now in the NFL of the 6th man. So this is kind of your swing tackle, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a tackle. It can be a guard or even a backup center. And so we have seen the Broncos use it with regularity. The Patriots got to the Super Bowl basically with it. And you'll see during a game the guy wiping his shirt, right? And they go, 70's an eligible receiver. But you, in essence, line up, instead of an inline tight end, an extra offensive lineman. That could be center, guard, or tackle. And so Nick Allegretti for us in the 2 Super Bowl championships back-to-back was huge in that role, and they actually won 3 rings. And then the Washington gave him money. But he was like our 6th man. We don't run it a lot, but teams in the NFL are running it over and over and over. Buffalo runs it. They run tons of it. And so finding a 6th offensive lineman along with a swing tackle and along with depth is all on the checklist before we leave St. Joseph.
You talk about the right tackle. You talked about some of the candidates out there that are there. You feel so good about the rest of that offensive line, but how debilitating it is that when Andy Reid talks about the offensive line, and even if you have 4 good pieces, if one is struggling, how big of an impact that means to your offensive line and everything you're trying to do offensively?
Well, we see it at Iowa, Northern Iowa, Iowa State, Drake, any of the high schools. We can say the same thing. I always ask every year, and I'll put it out there at noon today on this Friday, is find me a really good team that had a bad offensive line. So call me when you find it, because it'll be the first one. And that means working in concert. And again, to your point, it's a bit like an ensemble in music, the fact that they have to work together. And if you've got one weak link in those 5, you've got a real issue. If you have 2 weak links, you're done. You're kaput. There's not much you can do. And so it's not only finding 1 or 2 or 3, it's finding 5. And now in the NFL, 6 and 7, hopefully, and then to add an 8th or 9th so that you have the depth. But it must be done. You cannot go into a season and have success if you don't check all those boxes.
Mitch, at left tackle, we saw Josh Simmons, what he's done already early in his career. Just how good can this guy be out there at the left spot?
I don't think this is crazy. And watching him this spring and early summer and watching him here in camp, he's so athletic and he moves so well. I think he has a chance to be a top 5 to 7 left tackle in this league in the next 2 years. If things come together, we're going to be speaking in those terms about him in December. He has that much potential. He has one of the highest ceilings of any left tackle in the National Football League right now. And that includes even the guys at the top of the list, the Sewells and others. So there's something really potentially working there if all the buttons can start clicking.
Carry out some pizzas, 50% off at Papa John's of Iowa. Mitch,
Carry out only.
Carry out only. I don't know how they do it,
off.
But Mitch, they've done it once again, the Donaldsons.
And it was a sight, the jet ski over my dorm. I mean, the jet pack over my dorm. We did have guys looking at an aircraft fire, but Matt and Tom got away just in time, just to drop that special. But I'm kidding. I'm like, I had to double check with them. You guys are kidding, right? 50% off all pizzas, carry out only. Not for long, so jump on this.
Take advantage and have a great weekend. Mitch, appreciate it so much. We'll talk to you again on Monday.
Thanks, sir.
Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. He joins us each and every day during training camp, brought to you by Papa John's of Iowa. And thank you as well to our big Chiefs fans here out of our group of advertisers, Graphite Construction Group. I'm going to be talking to Russ a little bit. He's already in KC for the weekend. Down there is going to be watching the Cubs and the Royals down at Kauffman coming up. All right, Drew. Well, we are wrapped up there. And now it is time for us to make a little, make a lot. This is going to be the determiner. Week number 1. Drew's got the lead in our first week here of our coverage of our picks of the day presented by Circa Sports. So you're feeling pretty good at this point. Let's get into it.
It's time for Trent's Picks of the Day, presented by Circa Sports. Trent is not a professional bettor or a tout, just a guy that loves betting sports every day, usually poorly. Here's Trent.
Spend for this week. We're 8-10 overall. We are down 1.7 units. So we're going to try to stack it up, and we are trying to get above 500 for the week, get a winning week in front of us. So let's kick it off. I got 6 picks for you here today. We got all baseball on the docket. 3 games, 3 player props. We're going to kick things off with an underdog. I'm going to take the Blue Jays plus 195 against the Phillies. I know Wheeler's on the mound. I'm going with Soriano. Speaking of Soriano, I was going over 4.5 strikeouts for him on that front. We're going to jump over to Cincinnati and Washington. Give me the Nats minus 108. Hopefully it doesn't come down to that crappy bullpen for them. Late night tonight, Dodgers, Diamondbacks. Yeah. The losing continues. Diamondbacks plus 163.
I'm going to go with Jeff, not Jeff Condon, Condon's son. What is that dork's name? It's another G, but it's not Jeff. Jeff Condon's son, over 1.5 total bases, plus 155, by the way, on that one. And then the young guy that just got called up by the Yankees, Lombard, I'm going to go over a half hit for him, minus 140 on that front. Blue Jays, Soriano over strikeouts, Nationals, Lombard over hits, Conine over 1.5 total bases, and the Diamondbacks to keep the streak going for your Dodgers. What do you got, Drew?
All right, so Braves have been hot.
Yes.
They're on a 8-game winning streak. I think it continues.
Never bet against the streak. I like it.
I think they beat the Yankees tonight at plus 121.
All right.
I got Red Sox and A's over 8.5 runs. I think after last night, you may be like, well, they used up all their runs. I don't think so. I think it continues.
All right.
And then I may be going against you here.
Okay.
But I think Dodgers snap the streak tonight.
All right, so you're going with the Dodgers.
Got Sasaki on the mound. He's struggled a little bit this year, but I think he finds it tonight, and I think offense shows up, and we get the win.
There it is. So, Drew, yesterday you went 2-1?
Yep.
I went 2-2, and talk about a heartbreaking 2-2. And it happened within the matter of probably like 20 minutes. So I flip over, watch the end of the game. I'm on the Cardinals money line. Final play of the game, Haynes King, who I loved in college. Haynes King runs it in. All right, there's an L there. We're in extra innings, couple of different times. The White Sox get the lead. I had them at plus 167 yesterday. Would have been a huge difference maker. Of course, they lose in walk-off fashion to the Red Sox. So what could have been a perfect 4-0, back-to-back walk-offs in the final minutes turns into 2-2. Losing money. I'm 8-10 on the week. Do you know your record offhand?
No.
We'll do some housekeeping.
Yeah.
We'll do some housekeeping and have that ready to go and get things figured out. Well, with that, we are out of time. Thanks for being with us here today on our first week of the Lunch Rush. We're not going anywhere. We will talk to you Monday. Not from the studios. Drew will be here. We'll talk to you from Las Vegas, 11-1 here on ESPN Des Moines and the Rush Radio Network. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you Monday from Vegas. America's turning 250 this year, and Circa Sports is celebrating by offering all users in Iowa $250. For everyone in Iowa, all you have to do is deposit $250 on your Circa Sports app, then play through that deposit. Once you do, Circa Sports will reward you with $250 right into your account. This is available for everyone in Iowa, new and existing users. Celebrate 250 years and find out more at circasports.com today. Must be 21 or older and in Iowa. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
We are ready. We've waited for this one for a long time. The anticipation, the excitement, the